Welcome to the Voiceover Round Table. I'm Em O'Neill.
And I'm Mike Tobin. Every week, we get together to talk about all things voiceover with a special focus on community.
Bringing you in-depth interviews, roundtable discussions, special performance events, and industry-leading guests.
Let's get started. This is the Voiceover Roundtable.
Before we dive into tonight, I want to say a big thank you to our growing community and the wonderful support we've been seeing with you guys online. It's been bananas how many people are sharing what is happening on this night. Thank you
so great.
Much. It's because of you guys that this is growing, which is fantastic. And that's how we're able to get people like tonight's guest, J. Michael.
Mm-hmm. And tonight we were so happy to welcome what I would call a true leader in our voiceover world. On the surface, we talk about it. We see social media feeds that are filled with Michelin star restaurants and first-class cabins, jet-setting around the globe. But I think most of us also know that behind the scenes is one of the busiest and hardest working people in voiceover, involved in almost every aspect of our industry.
Bio time. With over 25 years as a professional voice actor, he has worked with some of the biggest clients on the planet. On top of his work in the classic agency-based world of voiceover, he's known as the leading authority on the online casting marketplace, producer and leader of the great team at JMC Demos as well. He's won more than 50 major industry awards as not only a voice actor, but also as a demo producer, scriptwriter, and casting director. He and his wife and business partner, the lovely Anna, are the new producers and co-owners of VO Atlanta. I Will See You There, the industry's largest and longest running conference. And he's the co-producer of the One Voice Conference USA and hosts voice actors each year at his luxurious venues in Europe for the signature JMC Euro VO retreats. Please welcome to the Voiceover Roundtable, J. Michael Collins.
Well, thank you, guys. I'm honored to be here. I'm also exhausted by that introduction, but I very much appreciate
it. We had to slather it up, to slather it up. How you doing?
How are you? I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. You
just finished doing a workshop.
To have you.
Yeah, I just finished doing, we actually had 2 days of in-person workshops at the house here. So yesterday was the Weird Little Car, which is my way of describing play in commercial auditioning. And then today we did the Double Trouble workshop, which was me teaching political in the first half, and then Brad Hyland teaching auditioning techniques for online casting in the second half.
So fun.
Dear, that's jarring.
Yeah, right.
That's a switcheroo for you. Awesome.
Great group of talent.
J. Michael, it's so great to have you with us, and thank you so much for making time for us. Before we try and get the view from 35,000 feet of this crazy industry that we love so much, I think we need to address the giant lobster in the room.
There should be dad jokes all night.
So, it has to be. Yeah, I don't know. Here they come. Really quickly, how did this lobster thing start? We just.
All right, I'll give you the quick Cliff Notes version.
The Coles Notes version.
I know it's called something different in Canada, isn't it? But it's in any case so there used to be a conference called the Midwest Voiceover Conference back in Columbus, Ohio. That has been defunct for about 5 or 6 years now. But I would speak there each year. I think it ran for 3 or 4 years, and there was one year where they brought me in to speak, and the presenters were I should say the organizers were a little tight on cash. So they said, what do you need? I said, look, just I want to come. I enjoy these things. I want to come play. So take me out and buy me a steak and lobster dinner afterwards. And so the guy was like, okay, great, we'll do that. So after the conference, we go out for dinner. There were about 15 of us in a private room at J. Gilbert Steakhouse in Columbus, Ohio. Really top notch. And so the waiter comes by and. I asked the waiter, I said, what's the biggest lobster you got back there? And I'm not trying to order a 15-pounder or something like that. Right? I'm hoping for a 4-pounder or something. And he says, well, I'm sorry, sir. We've only got the 2-pounders tonight. And I said, okay, bring me 3 of them. And the look on on the organizer's face at that moment in time was he turned just pale white, and other people had heard it too. And I'm dead serious. I'm going to eat 3 soup nowadays. I'm hungry. A long day of presenting. But anyway, so it was a little thing, just a little thing that turned into an inside joke, and then the next thing you know, I do love lobster, but it took on a life of its own.
I was going to say it grew claws of its own.
That's right.
I'm telling you, he just, he writes this stuff and comes up with it on the
his
spot.
antennas are always up for this kind of stuff.
Oh,
I'm getting it from all sides here, kids. Oh, I don't know.
Ew.
Okay, bring it back in. I know we were
all right. We're back.
We have a list of things we're going to talk about tonight.
Not
the future of voiceover, AI, all of those things. But before we start that, I always like to ask, and I know it's sometimes cheesy, but it's always really interesting for us to know, how did you start in voiceover?
Oh, God, I've told this story so many times. So I'm going to give the abbreviated version of it, which is just that. So I actually started in radio when I was 15 years old through absolute sheer nepotism. And my father knowing an owner of a station in Dallas, Texas. And I wound up gaining a Bloomberg Information Radio business news talk show at the age of 15 in drive time.
Cool.
It was mostly just reading information off the Bloomberg wire. So don't think it was anything that fancy.
But still.
The cool thing though was that the owner was paying me next to nothing to do the show. I was just a gleeful little kid who thought he was going to have a long radio career. But all of a sudden, within a couple of months of being on the air, I start booking commercials for station sponsors. And the next thing you know, I'm making enough money to take girls out to ball games and nice restaurants. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is cool.
There might be something here.
There might be something here, right? So I had a short career in radio with that and one other program. But by the time I graduated college, I was making a small but legitimate living doing this, and actually had the chance to go to law school. Deferred for a year and made a little bit more than I did the year before. And family thought I was nuts, but I said, let's give this a try. And it was a time when it was certainly, if you had access to the business, it was a smaller world than it is today. So it was a little easier to get a toehold, but it turned into a career. It turned out to be an okay decision.
Yeah, I think you're doing okay.
Seems to be going okay.
Doing okay.
Seems to be going okay. Well, thanks for sharing. I know these are the kind of stories that you tell over and over again, but I'm sure a lot of people probably hadn't heard it, so it's good. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. I was joking with Emma earlier, and I was saying, like, I was hoping behind the scenes not to talk about AI on the Voiceover Round Table again. But when I asked ChatGPT to prepare our show questions for tonight, guess what popped into the response?
I'm telling you.
Oh, boy. So, all jokes aside, it seems like we experienced this surge of freakout about AI every year or so. Like there's like this giant wave and everybody's going nuts. What do you think's behind this latest wave, and like what are you hearing and seeing, and is Judgment Day coming?
Them robots going to take our jobs. I will give you a flippant answer, and then I will give you a serious answer.
Please, yes.
The flippant answer is when I start to see my income go down, I'll worry about it. Haven't seen it yet. And most of the major talent that I know haven't seen it yet. Okay, so when that starts to become a consistent and metrically supported trend, I will worry more. Not there. So for the moment, though, looking into the crystal ball of the future, which we're also good at that, right? But here's the thing about AI. I don't think it's a complete and total nothing burger. I also don't think it's the apocalypse. I think the impact of AI in your career is going to be substantially determined by the kind of work that you do. I think AI is inevitably going to kill off the low end of the business.
Yeah.
I had somebody tear me apart on Twitter because I said that AI is going to basically eliminate anything under $100, and I stand by that. I think in 5 years those jobs won't exist. I think AI will probably eat up 40-50% of the stuff that pays 100 to 250. Maybe not the commercial stuff, but probably the rest of it. I think it's going to eat up, maybe 10-15% of the stuff that pays 250 to 500, maybe as much as 25%. Over that, I think it's going to make barely a ripple. And the reason for that is that, first of all, we as a race of people, human beings, have a preferential bias against choosing a machine over a person. If we know we're doing it, if we know we're making that choice, we instinctively don't want to do it. It's why a lot of us don't use self checkout. It's we know we're taking somebody's job. It's why I recoil when I sit down at a restaurant and I'm asked to order on an iPad. I will usually go up and go somewhere
Oh
else.
yeah.
Okay.
It's brutal.
Yeah. So we just instinctively don't want to do this stuff, and corporations continue to force it upon us. But we do push back against it. And at the high end of the business, you're dealing with sophisticated creatives who will find it. I think one thing a lot of people don't understand about AI voiceover is that it's not as easy as feed it text and amazing voiceover comes out. That's not how it works. You've got to go in there and make little micro adjustments to what you want it to sound like emotionally, what you want, where you want to place stress, whatever else it may be. Maybe it'll get to the point where it can do that on its own, but it can't do that quite yet. And
Yeah.
the dashboards that you use to go in and do that require some level of work. Now,
Mm.
if you are a commercial director, okay, or a commercial buyer, and you can get a talent to come in and give you 15 or 20 reads in 30 minutes that are going to be wildly varied, interesting, nuanced, and well acted.
Yeah.
Can a machine really do that? I don't think we're there yet.
You're typing in,
Um,
I want to hear more smile,
exactly, and that
right?
takes longer. It's more effort. At the end of the day, the killer app with AI that will make it interesting to buyers is that it takes less effort. And yes, it's cheaper. Okay, but we have to understand that not every buyer in the voiceover industry is motivated by price. Lower
Yeah.
end buyers are, higher end buyers typically are not. They're
Yeah.
motivated by quality. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's going to be the low end of the business that suffers fairly
Mhm.
dramatically. If I were making even six figures doing it 30, 40, $50 at a time, I'd be terrified right now.
Mm.
But that's not how I built my business. So, it's a question of where do you play? How do you build your business? What kind of work are you doing? The only area that I worry about on the high end a little bit is maybe AAA video games. Um, I do feel like to some degree that the people who are involved in producing those are people who are more inclined to look at a dashboard of technology as perhaps easier to work with than a person, and that may just be a sweeping generalization, but that's just an instinct that I have that might be an area where, and I've heard AI that can do emotion pretty well.
Mhm.
So that may be an area on the higher end of the business that needs to take a look at what's coming down the road. I don't think any of us should be complacent about it, but I also don't think that we should be in a blind panic. I had a very well known fellow talent. I don't know if she'd want me to put her out there, so I won't name her, but just in the last hour sent me example of an AI voice that had been generated with relatively little input that she's testing out to audition and has actually booked a job with, which is
What?
fascinating. Yeah. However, listening to it, okay, even after all this hype and all this stuff we do, when I first listened to it, I said, oh, whoa, okay, this is pretty good. But you know what? It breaks down after about 45 seconds. The continuity
Yeah.
of it breaks down after about 45 seconds. It no longer sounds real. It no longer sounds human. It no longer sounds good. It sounds better than the stuff that we had out there 5 or 10 years ago. Okay. But after those 45 seconds, it no longer sounds great. So the viability of this for longer work for society, I don't know. I mean, if it's a e-learning that's paying 2 cents a word and it's already coming from a company in Southeast
Oh,
Asia, that's going to AI. That's all going to AI.
for
Okay.
Yeah.
sure.
If it's my defense contractor client who I do ethics training for their
Hmm.
expats to not take bribes from foreign governments, where if they get caught doing that, the fines start at 15 or $20 million and go up into the hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they go to jail. They're not going to
Mm.
drop me over the little five figures that they pay me every year for an AI voice.
Yeah.
I'm the best insurance policy they have, and that's exactly words out of that client's mouth. So, it's yeah. Let's keep an eye on it. Let's be aware of it. I'm riffing here a little bit, but one thing that I do think is important is that we also consider one of the things that I pride myself on in my career is that I have always sort of swum against the stream a little bit. I've always kind of gone the other direction that the herds were going in. Back when online casting started to be a thing and the DIY world of voiceover started to be a thing, everybody was, I'm cheap, I'm fast, come and hire me. And I said, no, I'm going to be Louis Vuitton. If you have to ask, you don't need to know. And that's my brand. And no, I'm not available on weekends. And, you might have to wait a couple of days. Okay.
Yep.
You'd be shocked how attractive that is to voiceover buyers. You may not think that because you have coaches out there saying you have to hustle your rear end off and you've got to work 26 hours a day. Okay. That's, uh, uh, unavailability, scarcity. There's a reason people line up outside of Gucci to spend $5,000 on a bag. It's not because that bag's necessarily any better than one that you could go buy at Michael Kors or at Coach for $200. Okay, it's because the perception of scarcity. It
Right.
creates a perception of value, right? To that end, one of the things that I see coming down the road, and I have talked to clients about this who have reinforced this, is that we may find ourselves in a place 5 years from now where talent who are creating voice models right now find themselves regretting it
Yeah.
because there will be clients out there. This has already happened, by the way, in other freelance industries. Freelance writing, this has happened in. There will be clients out there who 5 years from now, and maybe sooner, will say, for corporate security reasons or for national security reasons, if it's a defense contractor or something like that, we will not work with a talent who has created a synthetic version of their voice. You must certify that you have
Hmm.
not done so to work with us. And I think we're
Certified
going to
human.
be, yeah, verified human. And I think we're going to be shocked when we find out that there are companies who will look at you and say, nope, you're not eligible because you've gone down this road.
It's that's one of the things that I push back on the hardest, and I it kind of it bugs me when I see these people saying, "Oh, we need to be part of the conversation. We need to get in and ahead of the curve and create our own models so that we protect and all this stuff." And I keep thinking like, there's no AI company that is out to do something like in favor of a voice actor. That they're
Yeah.
as much as you want to be part of that conversation, they're not doing it for you.
No. Show me a use case where it makes me 5 figures a month and I'm interested. I have yet to
Yeah.
see that use case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just not where it doesn't strike me as viable. Show it to me. I'm willing to be proven wrong. The people out there who are the early adopters might be right. They might be right, but I'm a betting man. When I bet, I usually win more
Hmm.
often than I lose.
Mm.
And my money is on. Be careful if you already have a strong career in this business, or if you want to have one. You don't. It's Pandora's box a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's close the box.
Okay, get back in the
That's enough of that
box.
one. Back in the box.
So, assuming there's no judgment day when the robots completely take over, we all still need to find work, right? So, for some, that might mean increasing popularity of pay-to-play platforms. Where do things stand in that sector of our industry?
Oh, it's interesting. I increasing popularity. I don't know that I would describe the current state of play that way. I think if anything, it's maybe going the other way a little bit. I
Mm.
think we're living in what I describe as the curator revolution. Now, what I mean by that is that the 25s to 35s out there who are in positions of power to hire talent, younger buyers, this is the anti-paying rent generation. They hate the idea of a middleman. And they are not necessarily going, and we love our agents and our casting director friends and our managers, but they're not necessarily going back to those people. But you know what? They're also looking at voices.com and voice 123 and any site that takes a commission as Uber and Lyft and Grubhub for voiceover. And these are people who've grown up in the gig economy and who have been, pardon my language, shat on by corporations that take 20 some percent or more of everything that they make.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are very much the free trade, fair pay, no rent generation, and they are simply doing Google search to curate rosters of talent, sometimes just a handful, sometimes 20, 30, 50 that they go to and come back to on a regular basis. Most of the talent who I know who have a strong SEO footprint, who have a strongly indexed website, have seen relatively exponential growth in walk-in business over the past 5 or 6 years. It's no longer the future. This is happening now. 5, 6 years ago, I still had a strong website 5 or 6 years ago, but I got maybe 1 or 2 walk-in jobs a week that would come in through my site that I didn't have to audition for. On a regular basis now, I get 2 to 3 a day.
Wow.
And it's now a little thank you to Joe and Karen at Voice Actor Websites. They've got my domain authority up to almost 40. So I pop up pretty early on a lot of stuff, but that leads to work. It leads to traffic. And so, I mean, the pay-to-play sites, look, they're relevant. They're going to continue to stay relevant. It's interesting to watch as they all sort of evolve into versions of Fiverr, which is what they're all going to ultimately look like. Well, look, this is a long time coming, and I've been saying this for years, and now it's really starting to happen, and we're starting to see this evolution. It's happening because Fiverr is a multi-billion-dollar company, and something that changed along the way with Voice123 and Voices.com, more so Voices than Voice123, but I digress, is that these two, what were essentially little mom-and-pop companies, have turned into corporations where the end game is acquisition by a third party, and where their owners want to become billionaires, not millionaires, or at least 9-figure millionaires. Not country club millionaires. You're right.
They want to cash out. They want
to cash out,
and big bank of chips and take it to the bank.
And the way that you do that is you get purchased out by a bigger creature, right? So at the end of the day, Fiverr makes so much money because of the churn. It's because the same way that Uber doesn't make their money off of jackasses like me who order a black car to the airport. They make their money off of people pooling, sharing cars, because they do it in massive volume. And on top of the money that they make, they also gather data. They get email addresses. They get social media account access. They get they get actual tracking data of where these people are going, and they sell that to third parties. These are no longer voiceover companies. These are tech companies.
Yeah.
And so they will continue to be relevant because they're out there. They have great search position. They have, they're very visible. Clients will continue to use them, but they're just one piece of the pie. And I mean, we're in. I thought, we all thought 10 years ago, 15 years ago in voiceover, we were living in the Wild West. It's even wilder now. It's just there's just more ways to do it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on why VDC is shutting shop?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Apparently, Voices.com is closing up shop.
What?
This is in the chat. Do you know why Voices.com is closing up shop? We'll bring Sarah up in a little while. She can pose the question herself because I think she has some information we might not have.
I don't think that's accurate, and I have a very specific and very today reason to not believe that's accurate. But if it is, I'm just speculating here. If there's any truth to that, I would only imagine that it's an acquisition or that they've sold them to a third. But I actually have a very specific thing in my inbox in the last 24 hours that would suggest that's not accurate. But
Sarah says it was posted. She's on a treadmill at the gym right now, but she'll try to find the link.
I'm open to being wrong. I want to see it. Sarah, find it and let us have a look.
Absolutely.
That would be shocking.
Wow. And are you still paying to play?
Maurice says it's voiceovers.com, not voiceovers.com. I think everybody.
That makes sense.
That's changed hands a couple of times.
Yeah, that hasn't been a real going concern for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Well, we all got a scare right there, eh?
Or hope.
Oh dear.
People are getting excited. So just kind of ending with the pay to play area of conversation. Are you still on any of the sites?
Yes. I still actively use Voice123 and Bidalgo. I have a VO Planet account, just don't have much time for that. But not to say there's anything wrong with it. It's a good, decent site. But Voice123, Voice123 is the one I use the most because of the volume. I use Bidalgo as much as I can because I love Armin and support his ethics and what he stands for in this business.
That's awesome.
And Bidalgo, long may they live and maybe one day reign. But I use 123. I'm a platinum on 123. I will, you'll have to wrestle that out of my cold dead hands, because as a platinum on Voice 123, and I know the pros and cons of Voice 123, but as a platinum talent, I can get on there and essentially book at will. If I do 20 or 30 auditions, I will book somewhere between 2 and 5 jobs. And it's fairly like shooting fish in a barrel. So I don't audition there nearly as much as I used to. Maybe over a week since I've been on that platform now. But it's to me, it's still a moneymaker.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Well, that's that. This is the part where I just kind of chime in and reset the room, as we say, if you've just joined us or partway through. You are with the Voiceover Round Table here on Clubhouse, and we meet every Tuesday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast, here on Clubhouse, to talk about all things voiceover with a focus on community. We also bring you special guests and events from across the industry. And tonight, we're very fortunate to have J. Michael Collins with us. J. Michael, you talked a bit about the state of work on pay-to-plays. Let's talk a little bit about agency work, union or non, and the casting industry behind the scenes in there. Where do we stand, and where do you think things are going in the coming months and years of that part of the ballgame?
It's interesting. It's in flux. I mean, I think that you're going to find that as long as SAG-AFTRA is a going concern, and as long as you have celebrity level on camera people who support the union will continue to control the very top 1% or so of all of the voiceover work that's out there. So these days, if you want to book a commercial campaign that's going to pay for a house, that's probably going to be union. That doesn't, the non-union level, you might still get one that pays for a Maserati, but it's not going to pay for a house. And even those are few and far between. Okay, so at the end of the day, that the SAG-AFTRA is a strong union in the sense that they're not a voiceover union. They're an actors union that has combined with what was a radio union that is now representing masses of people. But as long as they have the celebrity investment, they're going to continue to control the highest end work, which is why talent will continue to seek out major agencies like DPN and SBV and CESD and Atlas and Vox and Dean Pinero and all the rest. It's where you're going to book the top notch jobs. Where does the rest of it go? I do think even at that level that we're going to start to see some consolidation. I think you're going to see some agencies start to merge with each other. I think that at the regional level and the non-union level, you will probably see more consolidation and some who just can't hang in there. The agents that are going to hang in there, that are going to be strong long term, are the ones who don't just rely on breakdown services to go and and send you the same jobs that your 6 other agents are sending you. They're the ones who are who are going out there and who are hustling up stuff on their own. I mean, I'm with Wayman in Minnesota. I love them. I don't get a ton of stuff from them, okay, but every single thing I get from them is curated for me, and I don't see it anywhere else. Okay. And there are a lot of agents out there who are like that, who are just taking the time to send out stuff that is quality and that is very specific for that talent. So they're the ones that are more likely to thrive long term in the regional and non-union sphere. But I think there's going to be some streamlining and consolidation over time, because inevitably, when you have a generation like I talked about earlier that is more inclined to do this on their own, and not even through casting sites, because even that feels like a hand in their pocket. I think inevitably that there may be a little bit less of that pie to go around for the agency side. But I hope not. I love my agents. I honestly, if I could just if I could give back all this DIY stuff that I've been doing for the last, what is it, 2023? I mean, this was like 16, 17 years ago this started now. And it's been wonderful to me. So it's a blessing, and I don't really mean that, but man, there was a time when just auditioning 10 or 15 times a week, physically going into places, booking 2 of those jobs, and playing 5 or 10 rounds of golf a week, that didn't suck.
No.
That didn't suck.
No, I bet it didn't.
It didn't pay for all the tiny food, but it didn't suck.
Right. I don't pay for no 3 lobsters. That's for sure. Oh, dear.
I bet we have a ton of questions from people in the chat. So we're going to open up the hands up option. We are locked on time here. We have a hard out for 8:25 p.m. EST tonight. So please keep your questions concise and share the space with other people. Please, 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 because we do have, an expert in the industry on the stage with us, and he's sharing so much stuff. I'm taking notes like wildfire over here. But please do be conscientious of the time.
Right on.
As we start to bring you up.
It begins. Shall we begin?
It begins.
We're going to begin. We're going to bring Maurice up.
Maurice.
Wow. Wow. At least somebody got that joke.
Hi, Maurice.
Maurice probably got it. He probably gets it all the time.
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Good.
How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I can't complain. I get to talk to you. That's a cool thing.
Well, likewise. Hey, just a quick question. I guess voices.com. I know other people have told me that I should try them or give them a try. I know there are a lot of changes coming up, and I just want to get your thoughts on them as well.
So it's interesting. They do seem to be in flux. I mean, the thing I've said, and I try to be very objective because some people know I have a history with voices.com, but I try to be very objective about this. I mean, the thing that people historically have liked about voices.com is that for less money than it takes on Voice 123, you can get access to more work. The thing people that historically have not liked about Voices.com is that they take what many of us consider to be fairly usurious commissions, and they have a very closed system where they try to discourage contact with the client. So it's a double-edged sword, but there is a lot of work on there, and there are a lot of people making a fair amount of money on Voices.com. The way that they're evolving, again, I described all of these sites as not Voices specific as sort of moving to the Fiverr model. That doesn't necessarily reflect the quality of the jobs, although I do expect that all of these sites over time will begin to accept lower and lower budgets, in addition to still accepting and probably even encouraging higher budgets, because if they're taking a commission, they make some money on that. What I mean is more that they're going to start to look like Fiverr physically, that you're going to start to see. One of the big changes Voice 123 is working on right now is emphasizing individual samples over full demos. Now, your full demo is still going to be something you can upload. It's still going to be what your agents want. It's still going to be what your managers want, production companies and ad agencies. But on pay-to-play sites, what Fiverr has done is they've created these little individual demos that really focus on a very specific read or read style. And you're going to start to see these other sites do that as well because it's been successful for Fiverr. And I think that what that means, Voice 123, what they're betaing right now is a system that essentially, if you want to dominate search on that site, you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of samples up there, because you're going to have something specific for basically every single read style that you can theoretically produce if you want to consistently pop up top of search. And look, now I play to win. I mean, my thing has always been that I want to, if I want to be number one at the top of whatever it is that I'm playing in terms of auditioning and being visible in a search function. So I may overkill it and do more than the average bear has to. You may find out that you put 30, 40, 50 samples up there, you may get more work than you know what to do with. I don't know. We're going to see how that system winds up working, but that's where this is going towards. As for whether or not you should use voices.com, I mean, look, I try to stay out of them. I don't think these are moral judgments anymore. This is business. We're all in this to make a living. We all have to, chart our own course and figure out where our own moral compass lies. I don't think, I have many friends and colleagues on voices.com who are great people, even industry leaders, and so be it. If you feel like that's a way that's going to help to feed your family, great. There's work on there that's very good. Where they're evolving to, I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of anecdotal stuff right now, and it is anecdotal. I don't have any proof of this, but I'm hearing a lot of anecdotal stuff from talent who traditionally have gotten 20, 30, 40 auditions a day on voices.com, saying that all of a sudden they're seeing 4, 8, 9. And I've heard it from enough people now that I'm starting to wonder, what that is all about. Are they playing with their algorithm in a way that is meant to drive membership sales or whatever other motivation they may have? So that's something to keep an eye on, because if the number of auditions that you get for your $4.99 a year on voices.com decreases dramatically, that potentially damages the value proposition. But if it doesn't, then you're still getting access to a fair amount of work for not a ton of money. And I understand why talent makes that decision. It'll be interesting to see where they go.
Oh, thanks, I appreciate that. And just
You
the
bet.
second part of that is, I'm still kind of new to the pay-to-plays. Do you see any conflicts working with managers and agents if you're on pay-to-plays?
I think there was a time when that was more of a thing than it is now. There are probably still a couple out there who certainly wouldn't love it if you were, out there beating your chest on a daily basis about how you're making most of your money on pay-to-play sites. But at the same time, I think that I've heard. I had dinner the other night with, with Jeffrey Umberger from ACM, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this. He said, "Look, we understand now that talent. Go make your money on Voice 123. If you can find work there, find your work there, and then come back and book the big stuff through us, and and then wherever else you need to go. It's at this point, there are so many different outlets out there that I think there's a huge difference in the perception of a high level agent or manager with regard to you being on Voice 123 or Voices.com and versus you doing a national commercial for $40 on Fiverr. Okay, and I don't want to take a shot at Fiverr. I don't want to be the guy who hates Fiverr. I'm really not. I am magnanimous enough to say, look, people need to feed their families. You got to put food on the table. I get that. Okay. Do I feel like you're undermining the industry if you're doing, an explainer video that's going to get 500 views on somebody on some YouTube channel for $75 or $30? I don't. There's low end work in every market. Okay, that's just nature of the business. But if you're doing national TV spots, for $50, you are a problem. And that's the kind of stuff that would get the attention of a major player at the casting level.
Well, speaking of the management, I was on Mark Gus's Clubhouse the other night, and he was saying that he's like, if I was a talent, I would be on all of the platforms available. As an entrepreneur, you want to have as many streams of income that you can possibly come up with. He's like, and I'd be looking at like, they have a tier system. What's the top tier? How do I get onto the top tier? Can I get onto the top tier? Because if that's giving me better opportunity to book something because it's kind of clearing out the clutter, then to do that. He was like, he's like, as for in his own view, and he makes sense. Have as many avenues of revenue as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
While not ripping yourself off or the industry.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, there's those baskets I always talk about. How many baskets can you carry? Sweet. Thanks, Maurice.
Thanks
for your questions.
Thank you.
And now we have the originator of what we call the Snyder maneuver.
Yes.
It's not Dan Snyder,
in case you're no, Steven Snyder. In case you're not familiar, the Snyder maneuver is what happens if you come up on stage and microphone no work. You exit the room and come back in, and magically you've Snydered.
Well,
and so.
And technical difficulties happen to the best of us. Let's be honest.
Oh dear, we're not going to go back there, are we?
I was not going to mention any names, and I was not going to bring up the Cincinnati Bengals to JMC while I was here. I am not here to cause trouble.
Okay, what's your question, sir?
Jordan, if you could please mute yourself. Thank you so much.
My question, JMC, is lovely to see you again, / quotation see you. I would love to chew off my own arm in order to attend VO Atlanta this year. Unfortunately, it is not in the cards for me. Will you have any form of online abilities, sir? Is this an in-person only event? And if not this year, is it possible that you will be doing any form of online abilities in the future?
So I'll split the baby for you. We're not going to be streaming. The reason we're not going to be streaming is that we exceeded our in-person sales target about 3 weeks ago, and we've got 2 months to roll. However, I'll take a quick guess from the room on how many we were offering a streaming option. Guess how many streaming tickets we sold?
Like 5.
4. 4.
Oh,
wow.
It's expensive to stream. And if we're not in 100 plus, forget it. So I don't know that streaming is going to be in the future of VO Atlanta, not unless there's a whole heck of a lot more demand than we've seen.
Or a whole heck of a lot more COVID.
Yeah, right. Well, go, please. No. What are you, it's like you just said Beetlejuice 3 times. What's wrong with you? Son of a
Sorry.
demon. But it's interestingly though, you talk about COVID, and we have seen ever since we streamed One Voice in 2021, which actually did get a fairly decent online attendance, but it was still 2021 August. One Voice 2022, not so much. VO Atlanta 2022 streaming. I mean, his revenue was not great. And I saw the writing on the wall, but it was really bad. And in a year where we're blowing the doors off the in person side,
Yeah.
it's not great. So I think people are tired of Zoom. I get it, Stephen. You can't come. It sucks. It's not accessible to certain people. I understand that. So what we are doing is we are videoing every single session except the X sessions and the kids program.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
for
There you go.
$349, you can buy full video replay. We intend to have it available within 2 weeks of the end of the conference,
Brilliant.
and that'll give you the full conference experience, less the hangover.
Nice.
Absolutely
Less the
magical.
hugs too. I think that's what everyone's after too, is the hugs,
That's right.
right? And lobster dinners.
So is it
JMC, plenty of. All I can tell you is we're very close to the island. Plenty of fresh lobster from Vancouver. You guys are all invited. You know where to find us.
Hey, man, I'm
Watch
booking my
out.
ticket.
seriously?
Thank
Remember,
you
he'll
guys.
have the 3 lobsters, but this time they're going to be the larger ones.
Thank you guys so
Thanks,
much for
Stephen.
having me.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Just a quick question from the chat. People are asking, so is VO Atlanta sold out?
No, I don't know that we have a sellout point. I don't anticipate we're going to get to that,
Okay.
and we're definitely way over what we expected. And it's not going to be a small number of people on the ground, but I don't think we're into fire marshal territory this year. Though I will tell you
Gotcha.
that if we're projecting based on what we're seeing this year, we may eventually need a bigger venue. We'll see.
Wow.
Cool. So if you haven't got your ticket yet, kids, do it while we're online right now.
What I will say, and I don't want to sound like I'm shilling to sell something here, but if you haven't bought your X session tickets yet,
Yeah,
those are going
Yeah.
pretty fast.
I think that goes for most conferences. I mean, to be able to get that more tailored, more private experience, that has a lot of value. And so
Absolutely.
I always encourage people, if you're going to conferences, it's great to go to all the regular public sessions, so to speak. But if you get a chance to jump into something that is, something you're going after with somebody high quality, you do it. You jump on the opportunity, because there some really awesome stuff happens in those sessions.
Well, I think I can say this with a little bit of ethical cover, because it wasn't my conference when this happened. But there are stories out there of people going to these X sessions and getting hired.
Yeah.
And it's we can't advertise that, we can't promise it, it's never any kind of a guarantee, but you spend 3 hours in a room with a small group of people, and you're getting heard by serious people. That leads to things from time to time, and at a minimum it's going to lead to learning that you might not get in that kind of setting elsewhere. So yeah, have fun.
Mm-hmm. Jordan's up on stage. How's it going, Jordan?
Hi, it's good.
Hey,
Can you guys hear
Jordan.
me? Hey,
Yep, we
Yes, we
can.
hear you.
What's your question for JMC?
By the way, before she goes, that's Jordan Moore, right?
Yeah.
it sure
Yeah,
is.
a future star. You heard it here first.
Love it. What's your question, Jordan?
So I had recently heard this advice from another voice actor. I don't remember her name, but she talked about going on LinkedIn and marketing yourself there by adding and connecting with producers, casting directors, etc., and posting like your smaller daily or monthly projects there to get eyes on your work. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, 100% with the caveat that when you connect with people on LinkedIn, don't make it a sales pitch. Okay, find a way to
Thank you.
connect with them organically. And mention something. Well, we can smell a sales pitch from a mile away. Okay,
Yep.
so people know that I hire talent from time to time, and I get that stuff too, and it doesn't hit well. So just be human. And get connected, and then what that talent told you is absolutely right. Post your stuff, post your wins, post your work. Because the cool thing about LinkedIn, if I understand it correctly, is it still works a little bit more like old Facebook did, where it's an actual timeline, and stuff that's popping up is pretty fresh, and they're not necessarily manipulating what you see quite as much as some of the other sites do. So these people are going to get this stuff in their feed. Put it up there. Let them see it. You know, and it's, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, but the more connections you have on LinkedIn is the only pay to play site where I have historically been able to consistently book actual voiceover work of any quality. I know there's work to be booked on the other platforms. I have historically found for me that it tends to be the Fiverr level work, whereas on LinkedIn I've booked serious clients over the years. So yeah, it's worth doing.
Nice.
Okay,
That answer
awesome.
your
Thank you
question,
so
Jordan?
much for your input. Yes, it does. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Great.
Thank you, Jordan. And I'm glad you were able to make it tonight. She wasn't able to make it
She's great.
last week. So I'm so glad you were here tonight.
I will do.
And we're looking for hands. What? Really? What?
We've
What?
got
This thing?
10
Did we
minutes
break
left.
this thing? Did we break this thing?
We broke
Oh
it.
man.
Yeah, you know.
Oh man.
What are we gonna do? I'm gonna go gnaw on a lobster tail and increase my cholesterol.
No, but it was like continuing with social media and with marketing and reaching out. It really is, and I've said this multiple times. It really just is about relationships. So it's nothing irks me more than when I connect. I'll connect with anybody on LinkedIn in general if you don't look creepy. But when I get
I'm out.
and that happens, you know. But the immediate sales pitch, like, hey, great. When I connect, I accept the connection request, and it's like, hey, great to connect with you here. I see you're in what I make some sort of conversation, and they'll immediately come back with, I am an audio engineer and I do this for $9 an hour. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Could you just
Go
say hello?
away.
Yep.
Seriously. Hey, is that the
Yep.
amazing Elena Wiss?
Sure is.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Okay. If you were to create a synthetic clone of your voice, what would be the terms under which you would be okay with using that? And would you use like a lawyer to help you craft
Oh
those
God,
terms?
yes, yes. And I mean, right now, my honest answer to that is retirement money.
For
I
sure.
mean, pay me $20 million.
Yeah.
You know, I'm dead serious. If somebody put $1 million cash in front of me right now, I would not do it. I just, you know, I see too much risk to my own income. You know, now pay me enough that I pay me what they call FU money. Okay, we can talk.
I like it.
Totally. Appreciate your opinion on that. Thank you.
You bet.
Wow. I think, and it's like different people have different magic numbers. 20 million does sound like a very nice magic number, but I think to all these, jobs that post on the pay to plays for the TTS jobs, the text to speech, where you're training a model. And for some reason, $5,000 seems to be the magic number that people just go, oh my God, look at that. I could do this job for $5,000.
Well, I don't want to be flippant, okay, but think about earning potential. All right, if you're somebody like Elena, who I presume is probably already a six-figure talent, if not more, and certainly has the potential to kind of write her own ticket. I've worked with Elena. You're talking about if you do something that potentially takes you out of the game, and you don't know how this will evolve. So we have to acknowledge that that's a possibility. Okay, and Elena's what, 30? You're talking about potentially $1 million a year of earning potential, $2 million a year of earning potential at the high end of just being a voiceover person, not being a celebrity. You're talking about, by the time you're 60, 65, 20, 30, $40 million. When, that's actually a thing in this business. I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand that's a level people play at. It is. And and a lot of people have that potential and don't realize it. There are a lot of people in this room who may not realize that one day they're going to be earning 200,000, 400,000, 500,000, seven figures in this business. You take yourself out of the game for the next 20, 30 years. You better get paid for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I had no idea that it could become a conflict in and of itself. I was just in another webinar, I think a couple weeks ago, where the opinion was similar to what Mike said earlier. Like, we have to find a way to make this work for us. We have to get our foot in the door because it's happening whether we like it or not. And I think I'm kind of with you, JMC. Like, I think I want to sit back and just see how it goes for a while.
Yeah. Every time when I see masses of people running in one direction, I just instinctively go in the other direction. It's just, and it has served me well.
For sure. Thank you.
he's going to fight off that shark at the beach. Everyone's running for the beach, and JMC's going in there, fists pounding on that.
Then you know what? I'm going to season that little bastard, and it's going on a plate.
Shark steak. Oh man, that would be another story. I think your icon would change from the lobster to the shark.
There was an old man, and there was the sea, and there was a shark.
But it's a great conversation starter, Elena. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Good to see you.
D, come on down.
Oh, hello.
Yay.
Hey,
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Emma, I promised you I'd be here today, and I'm so glad you guys have been doing this. So
I'm
far,
so glad
I'm
you could
loving
make
it. Me too. I got to run back in later and do some more editing, but normally I'm in there till about 8:30, 9 o'clock. But I was like, I'll cut out for a little bit. So anyway, I'm going to be at VO Atlanta for the first time.
Hey, glad to have you.
So my thing is, I feel really overwhelmed looking at the schedule, and I feel like I need to be in 20 places all at once. What is for a VO Atlanta newbie? Like, it feels like going to like I've been involved in music for more than half my life and covered a lot of festivals and things like that. That's what it feels like to me. Like, oh my God,
Lollapalooza.
where do I need to be in? Because this band's going to be here and that band's going to be on that stage. And I'm just like, I feel like I need an itinerary made by someone else to just point me in the right direction.
Right.
So my question being is like, how does one as a newbie to something like this kind of prioritize, if you will?
Well, for me,
I assume I'm going to need to eat and sleep and do other things as well.
That would, I, honestly, all BS aside, I mean, stay hydrated and get good sleep because it is a marathon. I've been, this is our first year running the conference, but for many, many years, I've been a platinum sponsor and I've been a speaker, and, it can be grueling. There's a lot of content. So, come prepared, but also you should come with a bit of a game plan. And I think that's different for everybody based on where you are in your career. If you're pretty new, go to the business stuff. Just soak in the Mark Scotts and Tracy Lindleys and people like that, and just as much of the business content. Brad Highland, to get as much of that kind of content as you possibly can, and learn about how we go about making money in this business and how to actually go find the work as opposed to necessarily the performance side, which is not to be neglected, but just to say that it's amazing. One thing Gerald told me a long time ago, and he's dead right because I see it this year with the X sessions, is that the business sessions always lag behind the performance sessions. Everybody wants to go, see the animation stars. Everybody wants to go see Deborah Wilson. Everybody wants to go see Marilyn Wisner because she's a casting director. And the business stuff gets ignored, but it is the most important in many cases part of one of these conferences, especially if you're new. If you're, more established talent, or you're getting your feet under you and you have certain genres that you kind of got that down, go challenge yourself. Go to stuff that's outside of your wheelhouse. If you're a commercial VO but you don't do much character stuff, go look at the animation and video game stuff. If you're an e-learning talent, go look at the commercial stuff. If you're an audiobook talent, go look at the non-broadcast narration because there are a lot of synergies there. Go to stuff that may not be as familiar to you and learn the things you don't know. And that's what. And look, at the end of the day, one thing we're really happy that we were able to do, and I'd been a little cagey about it because we were trying to make sure we got a quote from the AV company before we promised things we couldn't guarantee. But we're very happy to be able to offer that full video replay I talked about to anybody who has paid for any kind of a registration at VO Atlanta. That comes with it now, and that's included. The only people who actually have to pay for that separately are people who are not coming to the conference and just want to have that. So you're not going to miss anything. You're going to, the X session's okay. You can't go to all those, but at the end of the day, the rest of the content's going to be available to you. So the stuff that's really important, you hit that in person. Watch the rest later.
There you
go. All right, fair enough. Any other tips for like the post conference part of it?
Hydrate.
Besides,
sleep,
lobster tails and
No, I get your rest. And I guess I understand everybody's circumstances are different. If you can give yourself till the Monday, do it. Sleep over on the Sunday night at the hotel or wherever you were staying, and if you can go on the Monday, just give yourself the chance to come down from it a little bit, because your mind, it will blow your mind. Your mind's, I remember the first time I went to VO Atlanta, and I was like, two reactions: oh my god, and then oh my god, my people. It's just
There it
like,
is.
there's my
Yeah,
tribe.
because it's like
And
a
And it's
weird, like, there's the celebrity side of it, wanting to, like, oh my God, cool. Like, I'll get to meet some of these people or see them in person, right? Because like the fanboy side of it. Then
hmm
there's also like the social side of it where, like, Emma, I feel like I've known you forever,
Yeah,
but we've never actually met in person.
I know.
We've spoken hundreds of times.
Yep.
And, so there's that social aspect. And then it's like, well, I really want to get there to further my career and take advantage of that side of it. Like,
yeah,
uh,
but
and it
a
just
lot of
seems really
magic
overwhelming.
happens. A lot of magic happens in hallways and lobbies
It really
at
does.
absolutely,
conferences, right? A lot of
absolutely.
magic.
Wait, look, we
Oh,
hire
like the
each
office Christmas
other.
parties. Okay.
Yeah, we hire each other all the time. The more
True.
friends you have in this business, the more work you book. Period.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm so glad we're kind of on the tail end of all this stuff we've been going through, and that these are now back in their back in their original form, and we can do this again, because at the
Right.
end of the day, the circles of people who send me work outside of the representation I have are people I've met at these conferences.
Hmm.
Mm,
That's what I kept getting told for years by many of my mentors and coaches. So I'm really looking forward to it. And by the way, J. Michael, thank you so much for. I emailed through the VO Atlanta website. I got a response back within like an hour explaining or answering my questions. So thank you for
Awesome,
that. That's really cool.
my pleasure.
that's great.
Thanks for being an attendee, D. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being with
Looking
us,
forward
Dee.
to it.
J. Michael, do we have time for one last quick question, or you got
Yeah,
to
go for
bounce?
it. This client
All
seems
right,
to
we got Terry that's
hang
up
back.
on who's up on stage. Terry, you're going to be our last question of the night.
All right, let me bring it on home. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, what's your question
Hey,
for
Hey
JMC?
Terry, what's up, man?
hey. Here's my question. So I am coming up on my first year of my first full year of voiceover, and we're
Woohoo.
rounding into tax time. And I'm
Uh,
wondering, do you have any advice for somebody like me who's doing this for the first time? And are there any little secrets that you just like slide my way to help
Oh,
me out here?
I'm not going to say my first reaction, which was vulgar, but uh, look. First of all, I'm not a tax advisor, and far be it for me to give tax advice. That is something you should absolutely seek out a professional for. I use Washington D.C. lawyers for that, for good reason. All that being said, the smartest thing you can do as a talent, first off with taxes, put a third of your income to the side. Don't touch it. Okay, that's just over there, and you may owe a little bit more. You may get something back, but just put it over there. Put it over there. Don't touch it. And also the other thing I will say is report everything. Be rigorous. Don't cheat. Don't screw around. It's not worth it.
mm,
I have had talent friends, very good talent friends, who just lost track of it, and didn't really think of it like a business. And the next thing you know, they're getting a 5-figure bill from the IRS.
yeah.
It's and they're lucky it's not worse than that. But that's play a straight game. It is not worth screwing around with that. Do it right. Report everything you make, even if they pay you in cash, because it's just not worth the hassle.
yeah,
All right, thank you. That's great
very
advice.
well
Thank
said.
you.
You bet, man.
That's great.
And work with a pro.
Uh,
I'll leave you with that also. Hire a professional.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a fortune. Okay, get somebody to do it for you, because you will screw something up.
yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks,
It's
JMC.
it's one of the, I think it's one of those things that's probably the easiest to outsource for us as talent. It's one, and probably should be one of the first things. But great. Yay, let's finish on the topic of taxes. Rounding it out for
Started
the
with
evening.
AI and ended with taxes. Next thing you know, the robots are going to make us pay taxes, and that's just where this is going.
It's only
You heard it here
yeah.
first, kids.
I
You
wouldn't
heard
be
it here first.
surprised. Thank you again so much, J. Michael, for being with us.
My
Awesome.
pleasure, Mike. Emma, thank you guys so much. It's a great show.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
being here. Thank you for such an incredible, incredible show. Um, If you don't know who we're talking to tonight, it's J. Michael Collins of JMC Demos or J. Michael Collins. Look him up online. If you're not connected with this fine gentleman, get yourself connected. If you're coming to VO Atlanta, come and say hello to all of us because we will be there. I think Mike's going. Are you going? I'm going. JMC's going to be there. It's going to be awesome.
Lots of opportunities to connect, most definitely. So thanks again to JMC. We will be back next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, with a Valentine's Day special roundtable that we will be talking all about gratitude. So many great stories that we have to share and that I'm sure you have to share. So please join us next week with your stories. Think of somebody who helped you out in your career, or just somebody you're grateful to have connected with, or just different things like that. Those are the stories we want to talk about next week on the roundtable. So we'll hear you then, and until then, thank you all again so much, and take care. Thanks, Jamesy.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Have a great night.